Are you a real estate investor looking to sharpen your skills or a newbie looking to become one? You're in the right place. Welcome to Where Should I Invest? Real Estate Investing in Canada with your host, Sarah Larby.
So when you talk about programs, and thank you for your insights, because I think I had the same fear at the very, very beginning of the pandemic about, are my tenants going to pay? And I remember we had, even with the REITE Club, just, discussions about what to do. And we had like those emergency, 101, I can't remember what they were called, but meetings to share with the information with investors and bring experts to talk about that. And I think ultimately for many people, the fear was at least not realized in full where everybody stopped paying, right? And so there's, maybe a few here and there, but it was still a small percentage. But I do want to clarify programs, because there might be somebody listening to this right now and be like, what is he talking about? What is rent to own? What is a program? How long is this program for? When you're talking about, people buying out early, what does that mean? Is that after how long? So maybe just let's talk about that first, so that everybody's on the same page for, what that strategy is.
Yeah, absolutely. So rent to own, or now we call it rent to home programs, basically are anywhere from 2 to 4 years is our typical term length. More than often, it's about 3 years in length. And it's for someone that can't qualify for their conventional financing at the bank or with a mortgage lender or mortgage broker. They can't qualify usually because of their income, their down payment, or their credit score. So we put them through an underwriting process. Our team reviews their file and says, okay, based on those 3 things, income, down payment, credit score, you'll be able to buy a home in 3 years at a predetermined price. Today, you have a budget to go out and choose a home that you like at a predetermined budget. So a budget up to $500 or $600 or $700,000. And the clients actually get to go out and choose a home, with a realtor. We're not realtors. We work with, a whole bunch of realtors. So if you are a realtor listening to this, we're not looking to steal your clients. That's always something that we hear from realtors. Oh, we're going to send over your clients. And then no, we want to work with realtors, but they actually get to go out and choose the home. So once they find the home, we purchase the home. When I say we, JAAG Properties, or JAAG Properties along with a joint venture partner investor buys the home, and the client gets to move into the home pretty much that day, like a normal purchase. They get to move into that home, after 30, 60, 90 days, whatever the closing period is, and then they get to enjoy that home. While they're in that home, they're going to be working on making sure they're claiming the right amount of income, saving up the right amount of down payment, and increasing and improving their credit score so that they can qualify for conventional financing or a mortgage at the end of the rent-to-own program. So simply put, somebody that can't qualify, we buy the home, they fix what they need to do, and then they buy the home back from us at the end of the term. And when they buy out early, that's actually something that we've even started to incorporate in the last 3-4 years, is actually early buyout dates. So if clients can qualify earlier, then we want them to become a home owner earlier as well. If we need to extend the program, we can do that as well.
Great. I think that you've given some really good options for people who actually aren't able to, jump in at that moment and buy the home. So my question now is, as an investor, let's say I wanted to get involved in your program. What would that look like? What would you need from my end, and what would be the gain for me? What's the ROI for me in that case?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. And so, traditionally, we work with investors that can come up with the capital down for the home, basically 20% or so, plus qualifying for the financing. It's not actually the 20% though, because the investor gets the benefit from the client's initial option consideration of the deposit that they have. So if the tenant buyer is providing a 5% down payment, that actually reduces the investor's down payment or 20% amount by that 5%. They qualify for the financing. And we essentially do the rest. They're going to be on title of the home. We're following up with the client. We've already, underwritten the client or screened the client to make sure that they're going to be a good fit for the rent to own. But we're following up with that client, making sure that they're doing all those things to stay on track to own the home. And we're reporting to our investor typically every 3 to 4 months or so to make sure that property's in good shape, client is still on track to qualify for the financing. And in that example, our investors are making anywhere between 16, 17, 18% annual ROI or more when they're qualifying for the financing and providing the down payment. Now, the second way is a capital only investment. So that's where JAAG, we qualify for the financing of the home. The same process, the client chooses the home, they're underwritten in our process, and now we go to our investors or joint venture partners for the balance or the deposit needed to buy the home. Again, utilizing the client's option consideration or the amount of deposit or down payment the client has to begin the program as well too. And typically in those scenarios, our investors are making anywhere around 9% annual appreciation on just their capital only investment.
So there's two options. I think that's new, right? Where you guys are now going on title.
Yes.
I don't think you did that last time.
No, absolutely. Yeah, that's something that because of our business model, because of our institutional lending that we're able to qualify for, yeah, we're able to go on title as well and provide that option. Because some investors don't want to be on title, can't qualify for financing, and just want to invest the capital as well too. So that's an option. Yeah, that's right. That's probably been in the last 2 or so years, I guess. Yeah, it's hard to tell with COVID the time frame, but yeah, probably. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so you've got a few different options, and this is a 3-year program, and usually the buyer or the prospective tenant buyer will bring in a little bit of capital to start, right? Like, what's the minimum that you guys would require for something like that?
Yeah, our minimum is 3% of the purchase price. So if they're qualified for, say, a $500,000 purchase price, they would need a minimum of $15,000. So if that's the issue, they don't have the 5% or 10%, or if they've had some credit blips and they need 20% at the bank, the minimum that they need is 3%. That's some skin in the game, something for the client to say, hey, this is that I'm putting into. So that's the minimum that we require for them to start the program. And that's, another level of security for us and for our investors, that these clients are not just putting in, first and last month's rent. This is, hard-earned money. When you're putting in a minimum of $15,000, and for $500,000 these days, you're not really getting much. So even more, $20,000+, clients are really committed, and some of them, it's their life savings that they've put down towards the purchase of their home. So they're really committed to the program.
So that's good. So they have some skin in the game, and then I guess the investor partner that you would bring into the deal would, if they're not financing or they can finance, I guess that's one thing, but they would bring in the rest to equal to 20% down plus the closing costs, land transfer, like legal costs, that kind of stuff. Is that correct?
Yeah, you got it. You got it. So they're qualifying as if it was, I guess a normal rental property where they're qualifying for the 20%, or sorry, they're putting down the 20% investment, plus, yeah, the closing costs, legals, land transfer, all that kind of stuff.
So, okay, so then that happens, and then the tenant buyer then will rent, and then they will rent. So I think there's 2 types of payments, right? There's 2 contracts. There's one that's like a regular, like Ontario standard lease, and then there's a different contract. What is the additional contract that's different with renting?
Yeah, you got it. The Ontario standard lease contract, that's pretty similar to anybody that is renting a property. The Ontario standard lease agreement that's signed, as well as the purchase option contract. So that is the secondary contract that the clients, that's where they are, pretty much guaranteeing, their money that they've put down, the 20,000 plus, how much extra they're going to be paying or what they're paying that's going to actually be credited back to them at the end of the program. So if they're paying another $700 a month, plus that initial deposit, that is actually credited back to them and be used for their down payment or their deposit when they go qualify at the bank or at the lender at the end of the program. So that's what's basically kind of securing them or guaranteeing them what they put down at the beginning, as well as their monthly payment. So people say, well, how much does that usually cost? It's different for everyone, right? Because Sarah and I could be qualified for the same purchase price, but if Sarah has more of a down payment and I need to save up more, then my payments are going to be slightly higher because I need to save up more. So that is tailored for every program, but those are the 2 contracts that we signed, the Ontario standard lease, as well as the purchase option contract that basically helps the client or guarantees the client what their deposit will be credited back to them.
Great. And so does that mean the rent stays the same throughout the 3-year term, or is there any rental increase? As well as, what about the property management? Does the investor play the role of a landlord as well, or do you guys play that role, or is it the role of the tenant and they take care of that? How does that work?
Yeah, so for your first question, the client knows exactly what they're going to be paying for. If it's a 3-year term, all 36 payments are going to be the exact same. That doesn't change throughout the program. So we kind of slightly adjust it, knowing that probably taxes, insurance will slightly go up, throughout that time period, but that payment stays the same for those 36 months. The property management, it's more about people management. So our investors, our joint venture partners don't have to worry about any of that. We manage all that for our clients. The rent collection, the option consideration payment, each month is being collected by us. We're following up with the clients if they're not paying, as well as the property management. The clients, the tenant buyers in the homes are actually going to be responsible for all the maintenance, upkeep, and taking care of the property. But we're also following up with them. Typically quarterly, we're visiting the property, making sure all the general maintenance is taken care of. Wintertime, that eaves are cleaned, and there's no water backing up, and the smoke detectors, furnace filters, all the general maintenance. And it's actually the amazing part of this program is that we see a lot of our clients not just taking care of the general maintenance that comes up in home ownership, they're actually improving the homes, finishing basements and washrooms and kitchens, adding on additions or garages, landscaping, all different types of things, because they know they're going to own that home, or at least that's the plan. They're going to own that home. So they're adding these types of things. So we're following up to make sure that the bare minimum is taken care of and the property is in good shape and maintained. But in most cases, a lot of the tenant buyers, the clients, are actually improving the home because they're going to own that home. So any additional work that adds equity, they're going to be able to benefit from that. So, but again, we're following up to make sure our joint venture partners, investors, it's really a hassle-free, hands-off for them. We're managing that for them.
Thanks so much for listening to Where Should I Invest with your host, Sarah Larby. Make sure to listen in next time. We'll catch you on the next episode of Where Should I Invest?